All right. So got Lozano, welcome. Positive Life by Nina. Jackie, hey, what's up? What's up? Thank you everybody for tuning in. Today we have, hey Valley. Today we have Vernae Taylor, author, mentor, and speaker. And we're just waiting for her to tune in. Just make sure I have everything here. I'm recording the audio. I'm learning a lot of new stuff actually. Instagram, you can just like put the story directly to your IGTV, so that's something I'm gonna start doing. I've been on YouTube, so I've been downloading the stuff to YouTube as well, so that's cool. And just for some of the people listening, it's my first time using these Bluetooth headphones. So can you just tell me if the audio sounds okay? Does the audio sound like I'm talking and my lips are over here and the audio is like 2 or 3 seconds later? Can anybody just tell that to me real quick? Just so I know if it's all good or not. Boop, boop, boop. I know there's a lag anyway. Audio sounds great. Thanks, Val. So just while we're waiting for Vernae to pop in, we have these bad boys right here. So Breakthrough featuring Vernae Taylor. And I'm just like, I can't. Like, her story is so insane. And then I was actually treated because at the end of it, she wrote me this beautiful little letter at the end of the book just about, about how fantastic it was that we were going to do this together and just that she was so happy to share her story. So that was just absolutely insane. That was really sweet. And it's funny because, like, this book is actually, I don't know how many people, I know it's like 23 people are telling their story in this book. And I actually started from the beginning and didn't realize that there were so many different people involved. Hey, everybody. And so when I finally got to hers and then I read the letter, I was like, I didn't even know it was there the whole time. It was like the sweetest thing ever. Vernae's here. Okay, so she's about to tune in. Let's see how this Vernae's tuning. Yeah, I love everybody on here, and you're probably going to hate me because I don't have Apple. Vernae! Hey! How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I was just giving everybody the little intro on the book, and
Yes.
it's so funny because, like, I was telling you that
And
I
you
didn't
didn't even
even
know that.
realize.
I
I
know.
didn't even like this was the and you know
I
what's
thought that's
crazy?
why I put
Because
the bookmark. I usually do that just so people know, like, read my message first, then read my chapter and story, and then you can read everybody else's.
I love that though because it's like you start in the beginning and then you go to the end and then you just got to get the meat in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
you need
meat
a
in
good
between.
start and a good finish. So
Absolutely. And I love the red. Red is actually my favorite
we
color, so I
matching.
love that.
Oh my
Yes,
God, yes.
yes.
This is like my signature. It's funny. My favorite color is purple, but I'm never wearing it. Everything else
Yeah.
in my life is I'm surrounded by purple. But when you see me out, I'm wearing black. I'm wearing red lipstick.
I actually I love purple too. I also can't wear it. I don't know
It's
like
not my
how
color.
to. Yeah. Here, I'm just gonna bring this up just a little bit. There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Can't
Hi
wait to read.
guys. Hi
Hey.
everybody. Woohoo.
Yeah. So I have a little intro I wanted to read just because, like, I absolutely loved your story. And there's actually a quote that I want to share with everybody as well from the book that just
Okay.
hit me. So
Okay.
I'm
I
just
gotta
going to
record
start with
this.
this. Yeah. And I got it recording too. So it's perfect. Okay. So your journey has included feelings of abandonment, loss, rage, and failure. Today, we're going to talk about how you broke through to become mentor, speaker, and author, as well as how every confrontation with failure was an opportunity for growth. So, Vernae Taylor, welcome.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. What a great, beautiful introduction. I feel so honored. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, just to give people a little grounding, and kind of to your point about starting the beginning, starting in the end, and then getting some meat in between. This quote, when I read this, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And it's a little bit of a long one, but I think we need to hear the entirety of this paragraph, so I'm going to
Okay.
read this as well.
Of course.
And
Absolutely.
And just for everybody who's joining in, thank you so much. I see DJ's here. I saw Kalima's here. I saw Sydney. There's a lot of cool people that I know. So thank you everybody for joining in.
Thank you.
So here is the quote. As I searched in the deepest, darkest parts of my mind, heart, and soul, I found myself there and had to be reborn. I had to let my old habits die and dispose of false ideologies of myself and how the world was to be around me. I would say the greatest challenge of them all was that I had to surrender all control of how people were to treat me or show up in my life. I had to set the tone by cultivating positive energy, learning how to retain and harness that same energy and project it out into the world first. That's number one, first. I love that. I needed to set the tone of what I love, of what love should look like by loving and respecting myself. I had to revisit old hobbies that used to bring me joy and laughter and be deliberate about enjoying life again.
Oh my,
Love, love, love. Ah, yes,
it's
yes.
so strange hearing it when other people read it and I'm hearing my words off the page after writing it. It's like, oh my goodness. It just has a totally different meaning. So thank you. Thank you for reading that. Yeah, thank you.
Oh my God. And so many people are just like, yes, I felt that. Hello.
Yeah.
That resonates. My hands are up. James, good friend of mine from England. So we have England in the
Oh
house.
my
That's
God.
fantastic.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So we're international here. This is
That's
awesome.
right. That's
Um,
right.
so, your story, and it's crazy because Les Brown is just before you as well, and he kind of gives a little opportunity to speak on growth as well. So, how let's talk about failure. Let's just dive right in.
Okay.
What does failure mean to you when you hear that word?
Ooh, when I first heard that word, I think earlier on, failure was something that we were just, oh no, we can't do it. We're so fearful of it. We're so scared to fail. We're so scared to disappoint people and not do what's expected of us. But I find that now, as I get older, and of course, I tap into people like Les Brown, Johnny Wimbery, Will Smith. There's some other people that I really love and writers that I love.
Oh, and if I may interrupt, actually, Will Smith is a really good one because a lot of people don't know this about him. But after the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he went bankrupt, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't know that either. I did not know that
He
either.
did.
But
He did.
I love his platform that he's really speaking out about his vulnerability. He's speaking out about all of the misconceptions we have of people that are out here in the limelight, right? We have this perception that they don't fail. And so I feel like as I got older and as I matured, I realized that failing is good. We need to fail well. We need to fail forward, and we need to dust ourselves off and get back up again. And I do say that in the book as well. So that's been my conception of failure from the beginning till now. I realize it's going to happen. Like right now, I'm so out of my comfort zone in so many ways, and it's scary. It's terrifying. And you know what? I might not do well the first time, but I'm going to try and try again. And as we
Mm,
have breath in our body, we have to continue to try and just do it again.
mm. Oh, actually, okay. I'm only laughing because I didn't realize it was Mental Health Week, so that's
Oh my
perfect.
God! Yes, there's so many awareness weeks. My goodness, you know what? I thought it was the month. Was it last? Oh, I thought it was last month. I'm so sorry, but yes, shout out to mental health wellness because this is so needed.
Yeah, and so here's something interesting. A lot of people don't know this about me either, but I actually went to school and have a master's in clinical psychology.
Oh, come
So,
on!
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no,
Let
thank
me
you.
get on the couch. Wait, when's the guy make my appointment? I'm serious.
Well, but here's a story about failure, and it's weird because failure to me doesn't necessarily mean that you lose, right? So I gained a degree, but it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to pursue in the way that I thought I had to,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
And so that was that kind of tricky failure part, was that I thought I had to go about being a mental health clinician or therapist
Mm-hmm.
in one way, but why couldn't I share opportunities to grow? Why couldn't I share stories? Why couldn't I just be around people and have conversations and offer that sort of a platform instead?
Yes.
So
Yes,
yeah.
it's so funny. I was speaking to a career coach just recently, and we were talking about, his credentials and how he feels like credentials are super important. Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins, I mean,
Ah,
major. He is not licensed in, being a coach, but we all throw around these titles and these roles or degrees or letters behind our name or preceding our name.
right, right.
And we put so much value on it when really the value is our story. The value is what we have to offer. It's an offering. Every gift, every talent, every skill set that I have in me that was God given, I feel like it is my duty and it's our responsibility to pay it forward and give it to someone else. The anointing, it's not for me, it's for someone else. The message,
Yes.
it's not for you, it's for someone else. And so I think that's awesome that, oh my goodness, I didn't know that about you. So this is like a learning experience with both of us.
Yeah, well, and so so Adrift was that moment for me because a lot more people know me as a photographer,
Yes.
and
Oh,
it's
amazing
funny
work.
because actually I think one of my photographer friends, Art Callahan, Art Callahan, she's absolutely fantastic, Rose. She just said I didn't know that, but that makes so much sense. People don't realize that photography requires a lot of psychology. You have to be able to connect with people, understand people, and not push them too far behind their past their limit. You have to understand their boundaries, and you have to, above all else, allow them to feel comfortable. And actually, another key word in your book is permission. I absolutely
I know what
love
line you're
that
talking
word.
about. I know what line
Yeah,
you're talking
yeah.
about, and I have a story behind that. If we have time to get into it, I will give you a little quick story about why I said that line in the book and how I came to this place that I even allowed myself to do this.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so perfect, because let's talk a little bit about this book. So I'm looking at all the names in here. We already said Les Brown. We already said Johnny Winbury, Tiki Davis. That was a fantastic
The Tiki
story.
Factor, love him.
Ah, my gosh, screwdriver in his neck because his mom was a
Yes,
drug addict, and I was just like, whoa, dude. And some guy comes trying to get the money. Like, I was just, the stories all
it was
blew my
terrifying, right?
mind.
Like it was
All
literally
of them.
unbelievable. Well, first off, Johnny's chapter. I mean, the beginning of the book. Think about where he
Yes.
was. I mean, that was such a powerful moment because we look at this person, we look at the finished product. We're like, oh my God, how did this person go through this? How did this person survive this? Friends of mine, people that I've known for 20 plus years are like, oh my goodness, they read this and they were like, you don't look like what you've been through. I didn't know that it was that bad. And I didn't know that this is how you internalized it, because that's why I tell my brother, I hope he's on here as well later on. But I tell my brother, who has, 4 boys, and my first cousin that has 5 boys, you know, you do the best that you can. We realize our parents did the best they could, but at the end of the day, you can't control how they experience life. You can't control how they absorb what you did or what you didn't do, so you just do the best that you can. And so, it's amazing that we're here and we're talking about this. This is exciting.
And so, out of curiosity, because talking about failure, this book had to get made, and these people had to come together. Was there like any sort of fear of, because mind you, the story that you tell has a lot to do with rejection and, and not kind of being saved by other people. You realize in the story that you tell that you have to save yourself. So, like, how did it feel to kind of put yourself out there and say, hey, I want to write this story and I want you guys to share your stories as well? Like, was there any fear of rejection that they would say
Oh,
no?
oh gosh, yes. So first off, just to backtrack in terms of how I came to be a part of this book. Johnny Winbury is how I was introduced to this project, and it was almost like I was chosen. But at the same time, I feel like I was already chosen because I had already been writing, and I had started writing my autobiography in 2008. I was
Okay.
sitting on this. This is like on my list to do, like my bucket list of things that I want to do. So I always knew that someday I'm going to publish and put my story out there for the world to see. And so when this opportunity came about, it was terrifying because so terrifying. I didn't tell a soul until my
Mm,
books were literally at my front door. I kid you not a single soul. And then I was trying to figure out, okay, who in my family could I break the news to first that would extend some grace, and then to someone else, because I was so concerned about, in me telling my story, clearly there are other characters, right? There are other people, and even though they're living their lives and they're doing what they're doing, again, they don't know how whatever their choices are, it may be impacting me, and vice versa, that sometimes people feel exposed, right? And they don't want to be
mm,
exposed. They don't want to be exposed in the way that I was willing to do it. So that's how terrified I was. And that's how scared I was in terms of what people would say. And not even so much people, but I think mainly my family. My grandmother's 90 years old. A lot of
yeah.
people know, yes, I'm caretaker of my grandmother. Here we're quarantining together, and she raised me, as you know, in the book. And the thing is, old school Black folks, anybody on here, you got a mama, you got an auntie, you got a grandmother. Don't tell nobody what happens in this house stays in this house, and you don't tell nobody about our business, and that's just the way it goes. And
Right.
even when you are seeking some type of healing, it's important to acknowledge that there's something going on. It's important to acknowledge that, you know, I don't want to stay in this space. I can't stay in this space. And in order to do that, you have to put yourself out there. So with this project, I wanted to be able to honor my family and, you know, my family's legacy and of course my father's legacy, but I needed to honor me as well. I need to honor my own healing. And that's where this came from. And this is why I said, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I told my mother first. My mother, she cracked the news to my grandmother, and as soon as the book got in my grandmother's hand, she could not get her head out of the pages. And I was terrified. At one point I was taping it and I was going to post it at one point, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this to her. But I was literally recording her, watching her as she was reliving some of these things. And but she was so proud, and she doesn't know it, but sometimes I overhear her. And you know, that's how that
There we go. Okay.
goes sometimes. They don't want to tell you, but you know, they might brag about you to somebody else.
Right. And you know, it's funny because you're talking about Black families. I think this is true of minority families as well. There's a lot of shame that comes with your upbringing, you know, and that's something that you have to at some point deal with. And I shouldn't say it's just minorities. Every family in some way or another deals with this sort of internalized shame.
Yeah.
It seems to be, you know, it's just, there's this thing you hold on to, and I still don't completely understand why we hold on to it, why we think it gives us strength, when in fact it continues to hold us back, and it continues to be this narrative that we tell ourselves that defines us. You know, and that's why that word permission was so interesting when I read it, because you really do have to give yourself permission to break through. You have to give yourself the permission to do that, because otherwise you won't. You keep reliving the cycle over and over again, you know. And
you're right.
down.
I find that people are they're scared to do something different, right? Because to go into that unknown, I realize even in the way that I think, and the way that my brother and my first cousin, I always use them as examples because we're all creative thinkers and we're all creative minds. And you know, as an artist, that we just operate differently in our brains a lot of times. And so some people don't understand. And I realized that because we're kind of like on the outskirts of how we think, we dare to do the unknown. We dare to do something different. We dare to do the thing that people are like, oh, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. So I realized that people, a lot of times, they're working and operating from their own limitations, from their own insecurities, or just the fact that they don't know what they don't know. And so, yes, what did you want to say about that?
Yes. No, it's just when you said that, I felt that, because there is this, you don't know. You have to accept that there's certain things that you don't know, and that's why community becomes so important. That's why, you know, your upbringing was interesting to me, because in a lot of ways I saw that as being a benefit, that you weren't just raised by your parents, but you were raised by so many different people with so many different experiences. And in turn, there were so many stories that you were told and so many opportunities to learn from those stories.
Absolutely. And I think that's what happens. I know a lot of people, thankfully, my parents were always visible to me. I always knew where they were. They always told me they loved me. Like, even when I wasn't with my mother, I was talking to one of my girlfriends about how, like, when my mother couldn't afford it, she would make me handmade cards. Wherever she was, she would make sure that I got cards. She would write me letters. I miss letters. Okay, come on now. With technology, I used to write some good letters. So, you know, little things like that. So I knew that we always had this bond with whoever it is that was in my experience. But I realized that a lot of times, even those that are suffering from having an absentee parent, we don't even know the other side of that. We don't know, had we stayed with them, just like you said, to your point, had we been raised by them, what would our life have been? Would they have been able to handle it? You know, in our case, we were ward of the court. We literally were owned by the government. We would have been separated. We would have been in the system, you know, as a little boy and as a little girl, 6 years apart, myself and my brother, we would have been separated. And what would our life have been if my dad didn't have the awareness to say, you know what, I need you to step in, because that's my paternal grandmother. You know, I need you to step in. I need you to help. And had she not fought for us in that way, where would we be? Because there were some people in the family who were like, all right, well, I'll take Nene, but I'm not taking him. Or I'll take him and I'm not taking her. Because you have two different experiences and two different upbringings that are required when you're dealing with raising a child, a boy, and raising a girl, and then when they're 6 years apart. So, I think we just need to take, like you say, take whatever it is that our lives were or what we imagine it should have been. We just take what we have and we work with it. We work with it and we make it better. And I realized for me, and especially myself and my brother, that it's just our duty to just carry it on and do what they couldn't do. The resources and education that they didn't have, my parents, it's up to us to really pass that torch on and to keep it going.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to take a quick minute. I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in. I see a lot of comments coming in, so thank you everybody for participating.
Yes.
Keep the comments coming. Any questions, we'll definitely take a moment to acknowledge those as well. But Vernae, so there's this interesting part about your story where there's almost this dichotomy where you were rejected by so many men in your life, and yet at the same time you were chosen by your grandmother and then ultimately chose yourself. So there's this interesting there's this interesting sort of thing there.
Well, yeah, what's funny? It's funny that we tend to be that way. People that are like super giving and loving and affectionate, sometimes that's not always reciprocated. Let's look at comedians. And artists, right? Performers, they go out and they give their heart, their blood, sweat, and tears on the stage. And a lot of times you find those are some of the most troubled people because maybe people don't give it the same capacity. Or I found, and I learned as I gotten older, that some people just don't have the capacity to love you in the way that you would love them or in the way that you would want them to.
Yes.
That's it. And that's what I said. People are operating sometimes on their own strength, from their own limitations, their own insecurities. And once I got the realization, oh my goodness, it was such peace. Oh my goodness. It's almost like, why didn't someone tell me like this? I could have 20 years of my life.
I know that feeling. Yes, I know that feeling because everybody's operating from their own place, and it's so hard because you take everything so personally. Like bullying, for example. A person goes through life and they're constantly told by multiple different people, you're not good enough. And so you internalize that. So where is the opportunity to learn that, especially if your home situation isn't particularly stable, where's the opportunity to learn that, hey, maybe this person is going through something. Maybe this person needs a hand. And maybe I should either step in and offer help or step out and be like, you know what, I can't. I don't have the energy to really help you in the way that I think you need to be helped.
Absolutely. And really, to just get back to your question, because I know sometimes I can do that. I can veer off and, just catch me if I fall. Okay. But no, but to your point in terms of the rejection, yes. I realized, well, first off, it's come to the realization that people operate from their own strength and their own capacity, right? But then as it pertains to my father, because I feel like, my father's the first representation of what love will look like. What will my confidence be like? What will my self-esteem be? What will my identity be tied to, essentially, right? And so with him operating from the capacity that he was able to, because of addiction, alcoholism and things of that nature, him being physically there wasn't always what I think I needed. And especially for young girls coming up, we need that emotional, stability, and we need the security that he wasn't able to provide just because based off his capacity. Because I said it in the book that I knew that my father loved me. And so I think what happens is because of this being my first, main relationship, right? This is my foundation. It's supposed to be my foundation because that foundation at that time was not strong. And I will say that, thank God, before he passed, we were in the reconciliation process. We had the hard conversation. So I am so grateful that my dad did not leave here without us having the conversation, because some people didn't even have that chance, right? But I will say that, him being what should have been my strong foundation in the sense of what a representation of a man in a relationship should be. Sadly, my relationships then reflected that same thing, reflected me wanting my dad to be sober more than him, me wanting to save him and not being able to save him. And sometimes that in itself feels like failure. It feels like rejection because, wait a minute, you didn't choose me. You couldn't stop doing this thing. You couldn't make me a priority over your addiction. But again, if anyone knows dealing with alcoholism, dealing with addiction, anybody on here, that their judgment is just not, it's not the same. They're not operating at 100%. So I can
Yes.
forgive him for that. But I can tell you a lot of my relationships played out in that same way, especially the one that I spoke about, where that was almost a 10-year relationship that I spoke about.
Can I say his name? Can I say his name
Anthony,
here?
that's not his real
Anthony.
name.
Okay.
That's okay. I
Oh,
changed
okay.
all his names. That's okay, honey. I don't know if
Okay.
he read it, if he's gonna read it, you know, he'll probably pick up on it. And some of my friends was like, wait a minute. Okay. All right. They're like,
They're just like, right.
yes, you can say it. Hi guys. But yes. 10 years,
Yeah.
and I felt like that relationship definitely was very much parallel to the relationship I had with my father.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting as well, because there was a lot of expectation in that relationship as well that you were trying to navigate through and trying to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of brings me to kind of thinking about now how this all plays out in business and success. You know, traditionally, or at least the narrative is that being black, being a woman, being a minority, all these things should be playing against you, you know, and here you are, somebody who's faced rejection, faced loss, alcoholism in the family, been bounced around, and so it's just like the narrative is everything is working against you, and yet here you are standing before us. So how do you think you came from here and just rainbowed right on over to the other side where the pot of gold was?
Well, that'll be nice. I mean, listen, when you find a pot of gold, please give it to me. Give me some, okay?
I
Because
got you.
it ain't no rags and riches over here. But I know what you mean. Absolutely. Well, I can tell you, it's funny because of that. Because of these things that shaped me, it made me somewhat aggressive, very assertive,
Oh, you
bold.
said that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can tell you right now, like, I mean, my really close friends that know me for like 20, 30 plus years, they know that I deal with my pride. I have a really big ego. We talk about this all, like I got a big ego. But seriously, these are things that have definitely put me in spaces where I ended up having some failures or having some hardships I didn't have to have. So it almost forced me to the other side of the spectrum to overcompensate, right?
Right.
Overcompensate whatever it
Okay.
is that
Yeah.
I wasn't receiving, or when people didn't show up like they were supposed to, I made sure I showed up, and I had to show up strong, you know, and of who it is that I am. I had to assert myself as to who it is I am. So I think that just made me, you know, relentless and just finding my purpose. It makes me relentless and also seeking the greatness in others. That is
Oof.
like
Yes.
naturally, I've always been a motivator with my friends. I've always been the person that could just speak it into existence and speak life into them and encourage them. And I realized because I see a lot of women, or young women especially now, that are going
Yeah.
through some of the things that I've gone through, or even if I can help avoid them going through what it is that I've gone through, that would just bring me so much joy, because it's like, wow, I've arrived to this place of realization that that's what it's about. When you have that aha moment and the light bulb goes off, that's for you to go and help somebody else. That's for you to go reach somebody else. Like when I saw Harriet, I'm like, oh my goodness. This woman was like, oh no, I got to go back, because this freedom means nothing when everybody's over here. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? This freedom of mind, this peace, this healing, this confidence, this success means nothing when I have other people that are still in bondage and still feeling defeated. It means nothing.
And you know, so that's interesting, the topic of breaking through then, because, you know, and actually Berno brings up a good point about ego and how it aids in your success, because you do have to believe in yourself, but at the same time, there's a distorted idea about ego. And that distorted idea is that everything that somebody else, external factors, impose upon me is something I have to accept or believe.
Right.
But if you come from this center and you bring that out, it's a very different story. You're putting your energy, your will, your intention back out into the world, and that is a very different kind of ego to be having and using.
Oh yes, I love it. Listen, I feel like I'm on the couch. Yes, teach me, tell me, really,
No, but I,
seriously.
I learned so much from you, from reading this book, from reading this story. So, you know, please tell me more. I want to hear.
No, I love that. No, I felt that. I was like, oh, can you say that again? Let me take some notes on that. No, but you're absolutely right, because for a long time it was about everybody else. Literally, there were times in my life where I was playing the blame game. I'm talking about being terminated from really great jobs, from really great companies. not being able to work for anybody, not being able to, have anyone tell me what to do and how to do it. And yeah, you find yourself meeting these challenges simply because of this ego that we talk about, and because of this idea that it's out there, that something externally has to validate me, has to build me up, has to fix me, and has to
Mm.
make it better. And you're right, we need to reach within. It's within us. And that's why I say unlock your greatness, because we all have it. We all have a gift. We all have an assignment and a purpose. And the sooner we tap into it, we understand that when someone shades us, okay, like, all right, God bless
Just
you. I'm gonna
brush
pray
it
for you.
off.
Right. It's funny. Like, I have a friend, and I don't know if she's gonna be on here because she's super busy, but she's amazing. I always shout her out because she's always supportive. My friend Hakima, another friend, Nicole McFarland, she's amazing too. But my girlfriend Hakima, it's funny because so many people may hate on her or shade her. She's absolutely gorgeous and stunning. She's super ambitious like me. We actually met at a networking party, and we kind of shared in the same energy and frequency when it came to.
Those are the best parties, by the way.
Yes.
Networking parties.
Yes,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
it was
Please
actually real
continue.
estate. It was hilarious. And so and because we shared in that same energy as far as like being relentless about our goals and our ambitions, we find that a lot of times you come across people that are just like, oh, you're too much. Like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? And she's amazing. She's amazing. I look at her like, how did you just let that roll off of you? And she'll have not a feeling at all. It won't do anything. Because, sometimes when people shade you, you
Mm.
feel it in your body, right? It's just dis-ease. And nope. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I wish you well. Like, and I love that. Like, this nonchalant. Like, I'm like, I wish I could do that. But that's what it has to be. Sometimes it's just this piece that you just know that I'm here for a reason. You're here for a reason. And I'm pursuing my healing. I've got to get to the other side. And irregardless of where you want to be and where you want to stay, because sometimes some people are just comfortable in their pain.
Comfort. Ooh,
They're
that's a whole other
comfortable.
conversation. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. I had to tell myself that's the thing. When I think you talked about it earlier, replaying these stories in our head. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've told stories in my head about what it was and why it happened and what I
Oh,
literally
the
had to.
justifications. The justifications. This is why, and I deserve
I had
this,
to
and it's my
reprogram.
fault. Yeah.
I had
Hmm.
to reprogram. And I think I said in another live, in another interview, I had to unlearn and then learn.
Yes. Yeah.
Unlearn. We literally, all of us have to be reprogrammed. A lot of us that grew up in a way where, maybe there was negativity, or there's like, no, you can't have that, or there was limitations. You have to unlearn and learn.
Absolutely. So let me take a quick pause because somebody asked what the title of the book was. So it is Breakthrough.
Yeah,
Breakthrough.
everybody.
Vernae Taylor. There it is. And if you want to see the title closely, it's on my Instagram, so you can definitely check it out there. It is on Amazon, so feel free to purchase.
Absolutely.
And where else is it, actually? Let's just do a little plug right now since we're talking about it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's on. Oh God, what is this? It's what is it called? I'm gonna have to put the site up later on my page at Vernae Taylor at Facebook and Instagram. You'll see the link is the actual link for Amazon is on my page, but I always prefer, like I said, I have personalized copies I can make for you. I have my beautiful bookmarks, and yes, see, personalized copy. You get all that information, and ship anywhere in the U.S. I can get that to you. So I always say it's always great to purchase direct, right? Because Amazon obviously takes a
Yeah, of
percentage of
course.
that. But then, of course, with Amazon, I'm in there with a slew of a whole bunch of other authors. But I'll have to get you those other sites as to some authorized and some unauthorized that I'm still chasing after that are actually selling the book that they shouldn't be. So,
Mm,
but yeah, for
okay.
now, Amazon, you can go to his page, you can go to my page at Vernae Taylor, Facebook or Instagram. You can click right on the link, or you can actually just DM me as soon as we get off, and I can have your books right away. They'll be shipped out tomorrow or even today if I can catch post office.
So let's jump right back in then. So
Yes.
reprogramming. Do you think that people are programmed to fail? Do you think people believe that in themselves?
Well, it's funny. Probably not in the way that you're saying it, and they probably wouldn't
Mm,
say that in those words out loud. But I think a
mm,
lot of us are programmed, and I just learned this on a call that I had earlier. I just learned this, that a lot of us are programmed to do what is comfortable, to do what is
mm,
familiar, to do what has been fed to us, right? Because like I said, our parents, they knew what they knew, they didn't know what they didn't know. And some of them didn't have the resources that we have now, right? So if that's all we see, that's all we're exposed to, then we don't know any different. I know a lot of friends that grew up in the projects. They didn't know that they were in poverty. They didn't know that they lived in the projects. They didn't know that they didn't have money. They were fine with it because that's what they knew, right? It wasn't until they got outside of that neighborhood, got outside of the community, or people get outside. I tell people, get out of the country, get out of your state. I mean, I've been on national tours, I've been international. Get out of your own way, because you can see the world that is at your fingertips, but you just don't
Yes.
know if you don't lean into it, if you don't try, if you don't take chances. So I do believe people are programmed just to believe what's familiar, what's comfortable, and what's been fed to them.
That's
And
actually wild. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
oh,
keep going. I don't want to interrupt. Yeah.
oh no, that's it. That's it. I was just
Okay.
that's why
No,
programs
it's
like
just
that.
while you were saying that, I was thinking of Johnny Wimbery's story and how he said his dad was a trash collector, but in a well-to-do neighborhood. So he brought his boys with him to go on these trash collecting, expeditions. I'm totally making trash collecting sound amazing,
Right. Well,
but
sanitation, and
right,
we
sanitation
need it,
department,
right?
right,
We need it.
right.
Yeah.
And so these boys saw this world that was so foreign to them. They saw these mansions. They saw what these kind of people at this wealth level were throwing out. I mean, imagine that as well. Seeing what other people throw out, that's got to blow your mind. Because my
Yeah.
grandmother, for example, she came up cleaning houses. So she came from Costa
Mine
Rica,
too.
and, right? So cleaning houses, a very humble origin story. But she was not, she would go trash picking and bring home the most wonderful things because people just
Mm.
threw them out. Just
Yeah.
threw them out. And so, that kind of has this double edged sword where you can look at that and be like, why would anybody throw that out? I wish I had such an ability. Or look at this, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yes. Absolutely.
So let's build on this, let's grow on this,
Yes.
instead of putting yourself down with these self-affirming ideas about yourself being like just not good enough or that you can never get out. This
Right.
book is filled with stories of people doing
Oh.
exactly that.
Yes, and well, two of the ones that we keep bringing up because it was like horrific stories was Tiki Davis, right? The
Right.
Tiki Factor is what he's known for. So definitely look him up, and of course Johnny Wimbery, who opens the book. He writes the forward. That he's the reason why I'm on the project. And I think it's true what you say. Sometimes people throw out trash, right? Because it's not a value. They think it's not valuable to them. But then there's someone else that can take that and make it something. And I think
Yes.
that's what happens when we come up in this hardship. Somehow we are refined. Sometimes, we come out of this fiery furnace, and we come out this beautiful piece, this beautiful
Mm.
masterpiece, I should say. So it takes that sometimes. It takes that, someone saying, oh, well, no, you can't do that, for you to want to go and do it, and
Mm.
for me, I knew from me, I always felt it in my bones ever since I was a child. I'm like, and even my brother, we've always had big dreams, like major, like massive, like who do you think you are? Like seriously, in high school, you couldn't tell me. I wasn't even going to go to college. Shout out to Rutgers University, New Brunswick. I wasn't even going to go to college, but in high school, my brother and I, we used to perform together. I was a singer. For those that don't know, I'm a performing artist first. I'm a singer first. And I was the big fish in a little sea, and nobody was doing it like me. And I'm like, do you know who I am? Like, I'm gonna be a star. I don't need, like, literally. Everybody was like, oh, Vernae, you need to be starting, preparing for college and doing this stuff. I'm like, college. You know what I mean? So it was something about, what I didn't have that made me feel like, you know what? I'm going to be the difference. I'm going to be the one to
Mm.
change the trajectory of my life and of my family. And we are going to be the first generation, me and my brother or whoever else in this. I'm speaking to you guys as well, that you are going to be the difference, that you are going to be the one to break that curse, break those generational patterns, whatever those bad habits are. You're going to be the first. And I mean, there's a lot of people. Shout out to class of 2020,
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
know a lot of them can't graduate, but we love you. Even my cousin who's getting his master's at Drexel, another cousin who's at St. John's. Shout out to them. They may be the first, and that's
Yeah.
amazing. And you realize when you go into uncharted territory, that's just what it is. It's unknown, but you have to just try. You have to try.
You absolutely do. You absolutely do. There's, so when you talk about failure, I've tried so many different things, whether it was by my choice or a situational thing that put me into another situation that I didn't think I was ready for, but life kind of had a different plan for me. And I
Mm,
think that this virus, in fact, and that's kind of the whole point of Adrift as well, is to kind of really take this virus and tackle it head on.
yeah.
It's been such a fantastic opportunity for those who aren't suffering, because I do want to acknowledge the people who are, but it has been a fantastic opportunity to really reflect, to really reassess where you are, what your values are, and how you want to navigate this world afterwards, because there's this idea that things will go back, and that's not going to happen. There is no back to go back
There is
to.
that. Exactly.
That just doesn't exist. And so there's all these people. I have this conversation, and I'm so adamant about having it, because I don't want people to get their hopes up about this glorious time where you didn't have to care too much,
Right.
and you gave this half-assed energy that you put into things. That's gone. That's out the window. You have to really put 110% into not just your goals, but into yourself,
Yeah.
because you're not going to know what your next step is, especially during something like this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I tell you, it for me, and I love that you said that, and it's a good segue into what it is that I want, the point that I want to make. I love that you said that it's an opportunity, right? An opportunity, and then you said reflect, right? That has been, for me, it's been a big, major part and catalyst to what it is that I'm trying to do, and just living in my mindset and how I wake up. Gratitude. Gratitude.
mm, mm,
Honestly, just really thinking about what it is that you do have. You know, where there's other people that don't even have the little bit that you are, hanging on to, or that you think is not enough, right? Again, we're back to the trash. The trash that we
mm,
throw it out. You know, I mean, think about it. People have sales, people have garage sales, people have,
mm,
they call it antique. I love vintage clothing. Like, I don't only want to buy what's new. Sometimes I just want it to be kind of rustic.
mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all of those things.
Character. Yes. I love that.
Yes, character. Yeah, well, because you're a photographer. But yeah, absolutely. So sometimes it's just about really focusing on what we have, focusing on the fact that we have time to reflect. We have time to rest. Some people needed to rest. I know for me, I had to get into a car accident just to slow down. Literally.
Oof.
Was in a car accident that should have took me out. Literally should have took me out, and nobody would have believed me the way that happened. And then I walked away and I went to ShopRite to pick up something for my grandmother, my 90-year-old grandmother, that she wanted at the supermarket. You know, and I had to do that. That's what had to happen to me.
I'm just soaking that in. That
I know,
what?
I
That
know,
like.
and it was crazy
Mm,
because I guess I was so built up on adrenaline that I had no pain. I wasn't hurt. My vehicle that was 13 years old with 280,000 miles was fine. And I'm like, all right, the cops just followed me to my exit, and I went about my business like nothing had happened. Of course, 3 days later, I woke up and I couldn't move. But it was just, it was the matter of like, okay, something's got to change. And then I went months without a car, and my time wasn't my own. I didn't have that freedom. I had to like do this, and I had to go find that. You know what I'm saying? And so some people that need to rest, they're getting that now. They're
right.
getting a time to refocus on, well, if they hated their jobs, they're getting some time to refocus on the goals, the things that they sat on for years, the things that they kind of pushed under the rug, like, maybe they pushed their dreams aside. And now it's your time to focus on those things. So, you're absolutely right. Gratitude, reflection, rest, just taking every opportunity possible to know that there's a new normal that's coming.
Yeah, and just to touch on that as well, I mean, photography became the dream that I pursued. So I did that before the virus.
Okay.
But what's interesting is I feel like my story is kind of in reverse to a lot of other people who are working and now they're having an opportunity to re-explore what their passion is. I feel like I'm learning different parts of myself that I've rejected almost in a rebellious way, because I wanted to be the artist and I rejected the intelligence, the education, the all these other parts of me that were important and valuable that were feeding into my business. I just didn't realize it.
Wow.
So
Okay. It's
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
balance. It's the balance.
Right, right. So, there was this idealized way that I was looking at it as if, okay, I'm a photographer, so like I don't have to have a degree. I'm a photographer, so I don't have to use psychology. I
Right.
was doing it anyway, But this has really allowed me to sit back and think, well, why couldn't me as a photographer still do a live stream about, I'm not going to say mental health because it's, one, I don't have a license, so I'm not going to do that. But mostly just because it's not what you would expect a photographer to do. And so what I'm discovering about myself is I am not just a photographer. I am not just this one thing. This trait does not define me. You can't limit yourself to that in the same way that our grandmothers did not just look at themselves as cleaning houses.
No.
They were
They were
mothers,
feeding
they
their
were
family.
teachers,
Absolutely. Great homemakers. I mean, great cook,
yeah.
phenomenal cook. I mean, my grandma doesn't cook as much now, but oh my goodness. I mean, cooking.
But if she wanted to, she could.
Oh, yes, yes, honey. We just do Sunday dinners, but
right.
you know what I mean? And she doesn't like how I cook, because she's down home Southern, so she want everything dripping in butter. And I'm like, I need olive oil. I'm going to saute them vegetables So it's just different, but you know what I mean. But it's funny that, you say that. And I do want to put my bid in now, when I get all nice and trim and back into my prime. I want to definitely work with you, because a lot of people don't know I modeled as well. So that was another thing that I did.
Oh, and I see it too. I see
singing,
beautiful
acting,
skin.
and then
Let me just toss that out there. Beautiful skin.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I can tell you, well, I've got stories about that, but I tell you, everything's hard work. I tell you, it's not always what it seems. It's not always what it looks like. It's hard work. It's almost like we have to fight for what we want. For those who are fighting for your lives right now, you're fighting for your life. That means that you need to live it. You cannot just merely exist. And for me, that's been my passion. It's been my life's goal. And no one will understand it until I get to exactly where it is that I want to arrive, where I'm like, okay, yes. And now I got you, you're taken care of. And then people get it. Oh, so that's why she went so hard. Because for me, I'm just like, listen, I want to know my purpose. I want to live my purpose. I want to walk in my greatness. And I'm going to die trying. And that's just how you have to be like that.
Yes. No, because I mean, it's funny, like, you say that, and my mind didn't immediately go to this, but after I got all excited, I was thinking 50 Cent, get rich or die trying, right? Yes. If you take that concept of rich, and you're not just talking about wealth, but you're talking about internal wealth, you're talking about spiritual wealth, I understand you're a woman of God, like, that richness, you have to pursue that every single day. And if you need a break, take it. Nobody's stopping you but you from taking that break. Now, do we have bosses who might fire you for taking too many breaks? Probably.
Well,
probably.
Listen, on your lunch break, maybe, like, I used to do this when I worked in corporate. I used to go to my car. Literally, I had to get out of that cubicle, get out of the building, go far away into another space in my own domain where I could just breathe. And if you have to do that, do that. Yesterday, I was saying, I literally was on my anxiety call. I was on an anxiety group call. And I had a little meltdown with my brother. And I allow myself that space. As I was speaking to these women, I'm like, you know what? We just need to extend more grace to ourselves. That's it. If I'm not feeling up for it today, I literally said to my brother, I'm like, I'm just having a bad day. Like, you know what I mean? And after I got that cry out, and after I spoke to all these other women, these beautiful women, and we prayed and we supported one another, I got off of that call and I was way better. You know what I'm saying? Just because I allowed myself to go there and feel it. That's why I always extend to people, journal, write it down, write exactly how you're feeling, get it out of your body, whatever that form of expression is. For you, it may not be writing. It may be, for you, it might be taking a photo. It may be walking down and just checking out the scenery, walking down the street in the neighborhood, whatever it takes to get it out of your body and to release that. But give yourself permission to feel it. And then it can pass on. And then you can move on and breathe again. But the more that we try to, like, just, push it down, we try to internalize it, we try to just, act as if it's not going to exist, we're doing ourselves an incredible disservice by thinking that it's just going to evaporate. No, at some point it's going to come out. So you have to release it.
I absolutely love that, because I was just telling a friend of mine that, and she just tuned in, actually. So everybody who's just tuning in, thank you so much. And by the way, I'll get to that in just a quick minute, but Breakthrough featuring Vernae Taylor. Check it out. I
Drink.
got the front. I got the front.
Yes, yes, yes. We
um,
got the front and the back.
yeah.
See? Thank you. You got me.
But we were just talking about it, and I was like, sometimes I feel like a filing cabinet were the words that I said. And I felt as though, there were so many things that I was just holding within myself. And those things turned into resentments. And then those resentments started projecting outwards.
Absolutely.
They start projecting
Absolutely.
outwards. So if you're not in a space to handle it in that moment, take a break, walk away, breathe, meditate, go to church, whatever it is you need to do, do that. But don't forget that it's there,
Yes.
because it is, and it's not going anywhere.
Oh my goodness. I love that you said that. And as we were speaking about
Mm,
Will Smith earlier, I love that a lot of men and a lot of men in the entertainment space, are speaking out about that very
mm,
thing that you're saying, the idea of being vulnerable, the idea of being
mm,
honest with yourself, and the idea that it's okay to be in therapy or have a counselor or have a coach or someone that you can talk to release what you're saying, because the more we have this false sense of security that, like, oh yeah, we stand behind a false sense of masculinity, this false sense of security. We stand behind our ego as if it's
mm.
going to help us in the end. And really, we all of us just want to be set free, right? We just want to be liberated. And in being
Oof.
liberated,
I'm just saying, is that book number 2, Set Free? Because, I
listen,
love the way
well,
that sounds.
you
You
know, it's
said that, it
funny
hit me. I was
as
like,
we're
oh.
talking. You know what? I'm working on the book of poetry, and it's funny because I'm taking forever to release it. And this thing was written like 2015. But no, I also have letters to my father. But I am working on something else. I mean, it seems like there's so much that's coming out, and it's playing out before my eyes. So that's why I try to write everything,
Mhm, mhm.
so that you don't miss it, you don't lose it, because the world is just so fleeting. So that's also another thing that I love, that I've been able to read. I like, so many times I'm like, oh, I start this book and I don't finish it because I just didn't have time. And
Right?
so it's amazing that we have that time. But yes, we all just want to be liberated. We all want to be
Mm,
liberated and just feel better and just feel accepted for who it is that we are. So it's just like, allow yourself that space to feel it, to know that you're human. That's another thing
yeah,
I spoke about in my in the book. My own humanity, just
right.
understanding that we are human, that we bleed, we cut, we cry, we feel defeat, and it's okay. It is
Mm,
okay. And I think when we hear other people, especially like a Will Smith, or a Les Brown or a Johnny Winfrey, or Oprah, and we hear about what they went through to get to where they are, it almost like it gives us permission to know, like, okay, well, you know what? I can do this. I can do this,
yeah.
because if they stopped where they were, then they wouldn't be Will Smith. They wouldn't be Oprah Winfrey. They wouldn't be Johnny Winfrey. Obama wouldn't be Obama. You know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
have to understand that it took this journey, this path, to get there. And as long as we are just willing to try, I always say, if there's breath in my body, I literally wake up before my feet touch the ground. I'm like, thank you, Lord. And I say, thank you for another chance to get it right.
Right,
Another chance to get it right,
right.
because we're looking about the past, we're looking at what we did, what we didn't do, the mistakes. No, today is a new day. We have
Mm,
another chance. We can make another decision. We can go another direction, and that's just what it is. So
absolutely.
keep going.
Absolutely. And again, permission, setting yourself free. You are the one responsible for doing that. That is something. And one thing that I don't want to touch on too much with this podcast live stream is the topic of race. But I will say this much: when it comes to being a minority and the minority experience, we look so much towards this external acceptance, and we define ourselves by how this external world sees us. And that is so problematic to me on so many levels,
It
because
is.
we have to accept ourselves. I have to accept myself. So not even just from an individual level, but even from a community level, I accept my brothers, I accept my sisters, I accept my family. Like, you just have to accept, because we were dealt a certain set of cards,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that we can't shuffle the deck. So what are we going to do with that?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And that's why I always say that, yes, we are. It's almost like we're fighting this external oppression, right, in the system, but then we also are fighting ourselves. We're fighting even
Right.
within our own race, as we speak about sometimes colorism and racism and classism. And really what it all comes down to is we need to master self-love.
Yes.
We need to master
Yes.
self-love. Hi guys, we can't wait to get
Hey,
to your
Kay.
questions or your comments. Thank
Chels.
you for blowing it up. Show me some hearts. Yes, do. I love hearts. But I just want to acknowledge that you're here. Thank you so much for being here with me. For those that don't know me, Vernae Taylor, Breakthroughs, my book. So I am so happy to be joined with you on your platform. So I appreciate you for this. But
And thank you for being here, and thank everybody for joining as well. So thank you so much. And Kay is fantastic. So you know Kay as well. So
yes. Oh
yeah,
gosh.
okay. Yeah,
I love Kay.
she's
Like
absolutely.
listen, I be hyping her up. She's like, can you like I'm
Who
like,
doesn't
Kay is
love
everything.
Kay?
She's everything. And it's so funny because she's so non-assuming. Like, if I was Kay, I'd be like, yo, my name is Kay and what? Like, that's just how I am. But Kay is like
Mm,
super chill, laid back. Like, you don't even see her coming. It's like,
nope,
oh. Because
nope.
I knew about her before I met her. Everyone keeps saying,
Mm,
Kay, this creator, Kay the creator. And I didn't know because I was a part of Zara and the Oil Man. Shout out to Zara and the Oil Man, guys.
right, right.
Yes, you need to follow us, Zara and Oil Man on Instagram. And
I watched
share
it,
us.
and that's how we met. It was such a beautiful
Oh
story.
my
So
God, you
please,
were
guys, check
amazing.
that out. Yeah, absolutely
First of all,
fantastic.
he was amazing in the Q&A because you were so engaged. I mean, you were the reason why we had such great dialogue on that platform because you were so interested. And we went in so many different directions. And I feel like you just opened up the space for other people to feel comfortable. Because a lot of times people don't want to ask questions or maybe they don't want to be on camera. I know I'm still not even used to this Zoom thing. I literally don't want to see
Really?
Zoom. Listen, after this, I don't want... After this, I don't listen. I don't want to use Zoom ever again. I don't want to see it ever again. But you know what I mean. But you made everybody comfortable to feel like, oh, we can have like this, just like an open forum. Like let's just vibe out, and that's exactly what we did. So if you guys missed it, too bad, so sad. But we are going to be doing some virtual events and festivals, so you can take a look. But yeah, with Kay, her name preceded her, and I didn't physically meet her until I was on set that day. And I'm like, oh, that's Kay. Like, you know what I mean? Because everybody kept talking about her. So shout out to Kay. Hey, girl.
And but talking about failure, Kay's another person who just understands that you might not get it right the first time, you might not get it right the second time, but
Self-made.
you just keep doing it. And there's a lot of times where we've had conversations, and there's ideas that she's brought to me. So I'm not going to share any of them, of course, because they're hers.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of conversations that we've had, and it's like it's just amazing to speak to somebody else who also understands that it is okay to give yourself permission. And that's why community is so important too, of like-minded people, not just anybody. Because mind you said it in the book, like you feel like you needed an Anthony, but you weren't ready for an Anthony.
Come on, somebody. Come on,
you know what I mean?
somebody.
Like anybody, please, somebody, just help me. And it's like if you don't see the problem,
You so get me in this.
it's just like, but that's what it is. It's like, like it's your story is so universal, and that's why it's so easy to understand it and digest it, and then take parts of your story and then self-reflect on my own and say, wow, that's why she felt that way. And then by proxy, that's why I feel this way. That's why I was having trouble with this growth. So how do I use this story and use this opportunity, this moment for growth?
That's
Like,
awesome. I mean, honestly, that is awesome, and that's the impact that I want to have. I feel like that's the impact that we all should want to have on other people in our lives, people that are around us. They say people don't remember what you did; is how you made them feel. So, I mean, I really appreciate that. I'm humbled by the fact that it had that impact on you.
And just super really quick,
yes.
So we have 10 seconds remaining, so I just want to, it just blew right past.
No.
So
oh God,
thank you.
We didn't get to say questions, or I don't know if there was.
You know what?
Said.
If y'all got some questions.
It's so funny how it just like we just light Instagram on fire, right? I don't know what system that Erica Badu and Jill Scott were on, honey. Because when I tell you, I vibed with them for 3 hours straight, and it was amazing. Like there was no hiccups. I'm like, okay, that was like the best ever. Did you see it?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you're a fan of Jill Scott or Erica Badu,
I
but
do love Erica Badu. Yeah,
honey, when I tell you
who
I've seen
doesn't?
Jill Scott in person, I've seen her live, but I have never had a chance to see Erica Badu. So I was like, oh my goodness, it's like, is this a concert in my house? Like, I was having a good old time. In college, I used to wear the head wraps, the big earrings. Like, I was in my Jill Scott, Erica Badu bag all day, every day. Hi, thank you for coming back.
Yes, Jackie, hey. Vincent Show, hey.
Hi, oh my gosh,
DJ, hey,
hi,
hey.
hi. This is the second part. Oh my God, he's one of my mentors.
Oh, that's
Yeah, he's amazing. Well, he's a mentor in several different ways. He's an elder. He's a vocal coach.
mm.
He is a star. So thank you for being here. Yes, we actually, I sang backup for him and his brother. We did the first gospel play that was featured in the Atlantic City casinos last year. So we can't wait
Wow.
to get back on stage to do that. Yes.
Mm.
So we had a lot of shows that were planned, but we can't wait to get back to that. So
Absolutely. So, and of course we ran out of time because it was just
it was just
like
a beautiful conversation. You came
uh
prepared.
I was just feeling. I told you I didn't even. So look, I have all these questions and notes, and
Oh my
I haven't even looked at them. Like I've just been like, okay, wait, but what about that part? Because I'm interested in that too. Like,
Oh my
so
gosh. Well, yes. Well, let's just jump right in to whatever you might not have said before, and then people can go back and watch it.
okay, perfect. Yeah. So I guess this is part two. um, no, there was a few things I wanted to ask actually. Let's see here. Actually, we touched on a lot of it. That's fantastic. So in terms of business, actually, this was something that I definitely related to, and welcome, Jaharvis. What's up?
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's funny to me because I think a lot of people view business as stress. They'll look at any sort of entrepreneurship and any sort of
Oh,
like work that has to be done as just stressful.
yeah.
And it can be, don't get me wrong. But in any way, have you found business to be therapeutic? Because I have, in fact.
Well, I can say for my journey in terms of my entrepreneurial journey, that happened in 2019. It was August. August was when I was released from my last contract with Celgene. And when I tell you it has been therapeutic, because from that point on and forward, I've been so intentional about
Mm-hmm.
manifesting certain things. I've been so intentional even about the relationships that I've built, business relationships. And sometimes, like my friend, she's actually texting me like, sorry, Pooh, I couldn't come to your live. She don't realize that there's a second part that she can come on, but she might be doing something else. But, even with her, we talked about how, I just lost my train of thought that quick. I just lost my train of thought that quick.
That's okay. Business and success, how it's therapeutic.
Yes, yes. Even with that relationship, even we met at that real estate and networking party. I was having an event. It just so happens that I think her sister-in-law was a vendor at my event. She said she was going to come. She came, and it was like a match made in heaven in terms of business, because we both had the same energy, and it was like, okay, we both were fighting for it. We wanted to be relentless about our dreams and about our goals and in building. And at the time, I wanted to focus on film. So I started doing that because I come from singing and musical theater. So musical theater and stage is very different from film. So just transitioning into that, was very difficult because you had to go into spaces. And I was telling people in my last live and interview, you have to go into spaces sometimes alone.
Right.
Sometimes you have to go on and you have to show up for yourself, and you have to sell yourself, and you have to be pushed out of your comfort zone and doing a lot of things. Carl knows, he's listening, doing a lot of things that you've never done before. And
Mm-hmm.
people think it's easy, and it is not. But I will say
Oh.
therapeutic,
Mm-hmm.
because as you get closer to your purpose and as to who it is that you want to be or who it is that you're becoming, and you can see it, and you can see it before your very eyes, like, wow, this is who I am to become.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing better. There's nothing more freeing than that. So yes, I will call it therapeutic. It's liberating.
Yeah, yeah. And I just to add to that, because I also feel like becoming an entrepreneur was something that actually helped me grow in a way that I wasn't able to before. When you're responsible for, let's say just yourself,
Yeah.
there's a certain element of growth that's just not possible there. But when you're now responsible for a name, for an image, for a brand, for what the content that you're putting out is, when you're really putting yourself out there, you then start learning these new skills about, okay, there's other people involved. This is now a team effort. Even if I'm the one doing the shoot, there's still the other person on the other side of the camera. What do they need? How do I make them comfortable? And then when you're putting the content out, there's also, okay, how am I going to put the content out? So all these questions force you to ask yourself things that you never really had to before. And so for me, business was one of the greatest therapy sessions I ever could have, because I had to take responsibility for way more than I ever had to before.
Yes, absolutely. And I think also it's you getting real with yourself. I know for me, it was getting real with
Yeah.
myself about, okay, so where are your strengths? Where are your opportunities? Where are some other places that you might be a little bit more weak in? And just really understanding, okay, what is it that you really want? Because a lot of times you find, I know for me, I was in the rat race. It was just like I was on the hamster wheel, especially, artistically, just chasing after every opportunity and being multifaceted, multi-talented. You almost feel like, okay, well, all right, you want that? I got that. Okay, I'll do this. I can do that.
Yep.
And you're literally just going, going, going. And at the end of the day, you realize, wait a minute, is this even what I want? Am I fulfilled? Am I living my purpose? Hi, thank you
Hello.
for coming back, or for those that are just joining us. But, am I living my purpose? And you have to realize that sometimes you got to get real with yourself. And you have to say, okay, if this is what I say I want, and this is who I say I want to be, then anything else that's not aligned with that, it's okay. I can give myself permission to say, no, thank you. Say no and mean it. And be firm with it. The last two projects I did, my last project that I did, I said, okay, yeah, I'm not focusing on that right now. And I'm going to focus on something else, and I'm going to go in another direction. And it's okay. It's okay to change your mind as well. But I think a lot of times when we're not put out there and we're not stepping outside of our comfort zone and trying something new, we wouldn't have had those discoveries. Because some people are okay and comfortable with, like, oh, well, I go to work. I know exactly what time I need to be there, what time I'm going to leave, what time I'm going to break, when I'm going to get paid, and that's it. And then you can get up and go and do it all over again.
Right.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's totally okay if that's where you're at.
If you're happy and fulfilled, but if you're not, you deserve to live your truth. You deserve to live your truth. You deserve to honor whatever is inside of you, that's burning inside of you, that you want to get out there and you're not sure how. Honor that voice. Hi.
I love how you're just like, let me drop this, but also, hey everybody, how you doing? Like, you just, you are absolutely fantastic at that. Absolutely, she's just like, here's the point, but also, how y'all doing? Y'all good? All right, cool.
Because I'm telling you, when social media hit, I was just like, everybody, ask my friends, I hated it. Cell phones, nope. I'm like, I don't want any parts of it. I refused to be on social media. And they're like, well, what do you mean? You're an artist, you're a singer, you're a performer. Like, what do you mean? And even with the videos, everyone's telling me you need to do more videos. When I tell you I hated it, and I anchored for, it's now Hometown TV, but at the time it was TV 36. I anchored for years, for a news station. And they're like, what do you mean you don't want to be on camera? And I'm telling you, I'm becoming more comfortable with these things. So I thank everybody that's been so patient with me as I'm learning it. But I realize that people respect rawness. They respect transparency. They respect honesty. And a lot of times people don't want to buy this book if they don't know who I am. If they can't relate to me, if what I'm saying or whatever I'm projecting is not resonating with them, then what do they care about what's in this book? You know what I'm saying? So I realize it's really important for people to know who I am, and what better way to get before the camera and speak to the people and speak to the hearts and minds of people.
Absolutely. No, it's funny because even with Adrift, like I would not have done this if it wasn't for the virus. And I know that that's a fact.
Really? You could have told me that, because the day I met you, the night I met you when we did the Q&A, I was like, oh, this guy, is he a reporter? Like, he's somebody. He's in here taking notes. He must be a critic. He must work for a magazine. He must be a journalist. It was hilarious and then when you said, oh, I would love to, invite you to my platform to, speak. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what he's been doing. Like, this is who he is. And then I looked you up and I was like, oh wow, he's a big deal over on this side, other end, with
right.
oh snap, you like totally different, right? But Yes, I would have thought that you've been doing this forever and
Ah,
that this has
thank you.
always been your thing. But I'm excited for you. I'm
Well,
excited. This is
thank you.
amazing.
No, thank you. And and what's up, intro DJ?
Yes, and my
Fantastic.
friend Justin.
Yes, and actually, side note, I was actually thinking of him before when you were talking about what's it called about wearing vintage garments because he's a designer that uses what he calls pre-loved garments to
Oh, I love that.
repurpose and make new
Oh,
pieces. So yeah, I was thinking about him before when you said that. So shout out DJ, shout out everybody who's joining in. Monkey is a
yes,
really good friend of
thank
mine.
you.
So no, it's funny. You're actually episode 3, so this is only the third time I've done this.
Really?
Yeah, you are episode 3.
So sweet.
Uh,
You remember
and now, again, it goes back to me having just identified as a photographer. Just because for so long I was like, I'm going to be a photographer. But because I did that, I lost sight of the reason why I became a photographer.
Okay, what was that reason?
Well, actually, DJ said it. He was episode 2, and he blew my mind because I haven't heard it in words ever, if ever at all. And it was because of the people. It's the connection that we make with people. So as a photographer, and going back to therapy as well, there's this moment where you create a rapport. And that has always been so important to me. That moment where it's like, I see you and you see me.
Oh, I love
No.
that. Yes.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never had anybody break it down that way and define it that way. Because when we think
Mm,
of rapport, we think of like, oh, what we can gain, right? In
right,
business, it's like, oh, I'm building a rapport with this person because I'm going to sell something to them and I want them to buy it.
right.
But to look at it that way as the connection and
Mm,
just like it being a mutually beneficial thing, like, oh wow, like there's something in it for me. That's
mm,
amazing to look at it that way. And
right.
especially bring that to your artistry. So true on the moment that when you create rapport, would love to hear more on it. Yes. Well, we met at with a show. He's a
Mm.
phenomenal dancer and actor. Um, and model. He's just got that face, honey. I don't know. I just don't know. I
Some
don't even know
people
if we really
just do.
models, but he just got a face, right? But yeah, just building that rapport for me, I love that. It's the connection. Oh my goodness, that's one thing I've been doing, especially through this entrepreneurial journey, is just
Right,
connecting with people and being intentional about it. Because when you're intentional about it, it's like, okay, you realize there's something that they have that I may want, but there's something I have to give.
right.
So
Yes.
that's
Mm,
what the power in the giving and in loving and if we could just see that, especially now in a situation like this where we don't have much,
right,
it's just like the little bit that you have. Some people are getting on their platforms and this is what they have to give. This is their contribution. It's saving people's lives to get
right.
on a space like this and to be able to talk and to be able to like give your feelings or your fears a voice
Mm.
and letting other people know that you can feel this way too is amazing. It's amazing. So good work.
Yes. No, again, I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for the virus because
Yeah.
I didn't see it that way until the virus hit and it was so obvious to me that everybody was hurting. That's when it hit me. I was like, wow, people are really suffering right now. As an artist, we do tend to be almost a little bit better at moments of introversion. Scott Paul, he's a singer, performer, absolutely fantastic. And he's actually one of the people I had this conversation with.
Hi. Oh, he's here.
Yeah, this isn't terribly different for me, to be at home, to work, to be on my own. And then
Okay.
when I have to go network, that's where it's like, okay, I could be social, I could do that too.
Yeah.
But when I had these conversations with people and friends and, people in my network, it was like, yeah, I'm really struggling to navigate this. I was used to waking up at a certain time. I was used to having certain tasks assigned to me, and I was used to coming home. And there was
Yeah.
this ritual about their day that they were so
Yes.
familiar with, and it was
Monotony.
taken from them. Yeah, you
Mhm.
know. So for me, this became an opportunity. Nana, my best friend's cousin,
Oh,
and she's a friend of mine as well. So that's cool. Thank you for joining in.
hi.
So that became an opportunity for me to be like, well, if this many people feel this way, like, I need to do something about that because
Yeah.
it's really not that bad. Like, it's not the worst thing that could have happened. Again, being sensitive to the people who they are getting sick, they have lost, you
Right.
know, take that I totally appreciate that. For those of us who are fortunate enough, again, like we were talking about before, to self-reflect, this is the time to do it. There's no more excuses. You know, there
Yeah.
just really aren't.
And if there's something that you're sitting on, a dream, a goal, an
Mm.
idea, go for it. I mean, I'm and as I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself, really,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I know for me, I never like to listen to people that are just like, okay, you can tell me about running a business and you never ran a business. Like, we think about when we were in school and the things that we were taught, but they knew nothing about that. I want to talk to someone who's living it. I want to talk to somebody that has experienced it, someone that knows hardship and knows challenge, and they can help me navigate it. So for me, I feel like that's the most authentic thing. So I'm taking my own advice as well. So
Right. Well, and that's why I invited you on here, because I really want to invite people who understand that this is that opportunity. And in speaking with you, I got this sense like she's not stopping. She's working on Zara and the Oil Man, you know, and who knows what other projects she has that I had no idea that you had a book out there. I had no idea that you're going to write a book on poetry. Like, none of these things were things I knew, but in engaging with you for the very little bit moment that I did, I was like, she's not stopping. There's something there. She knows something that I believe everybody should hear. And so when we
oh,
did start talking and you
it's
did share the
nice.
book, I heard your story, or rather, I read it, and I was just like, ah. So I was right. Perfect. Let's talk about that. So
Oh,
for everybody who just tuned in, the book
yes.
is Breakthrough with Vernae Taylor.
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
DM me now at Vernae Taylor, Facebook or Instagram. Tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your cousin, and DM me, and I can get you a personalized copy wherever you are in the world, honey. I will get that to you. You can also click on the link in my bio if for your Amazon shoppers, and it's on Amazon. And if you're so inclined, definitely write me a little review, and all that is great. And or just just drop on my page and show me some love. I tell you, I respond to every single comment. I like every single everything that somebody's doing, or if somebody's DMing me, I'm constantly engaging with people, because I feel like that's more important and more valuable to me than just the followers. Some people have a whole bunch of followers and nobody even likes their their pictures or their
Right.
posts, and they don't even say anything to them. But for me, it's about the audience engagement. I really want to talk to people. I want to know, what are they, what are they thinking? What do they feel? What do they like? What do they don't like? And you'll see, I'm always commenting on other people's things as well.
I know
So
that's right.
I
I know.
I would have celebrities liking my stuff and responding because I have so much to say.
Well, I absolutely love that. So, the topic was failure, and I feel like we definitely nailed it. We shared a lot of information, and you
Yeah.
shared your story. Would there be any kind of like final remarks that you would like to leave for the audience, for people who are listening?
Mm. Well, first off, thank you so much for everybody that came to the second part, those that were here in the first part, those that have supported me, have clicked the follow or like, just being here. Thank you, Fresco. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and the good work that you're doing. But yeah, I would say anybody that's listening, whatever it is that you're doing, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what type of work you do, what your family did, what type of family you came from, who said you couldn't, and whatever limitations people are putting on you or you're putting on yourself, it does not matter, because I know, and I know that I know that I know that you are here for a reason. You have a purpose. You all have a purpose. We all have an assignment. We all have been designed and created for a time such as this, to live and walk in our greatness. And it's okay if you're scared, do it anyway. I
Mm.
can't tell you, every performer that's been on that stage, especially Beyonce, I can tell you right now, I've been singing since I was 5. I literally have the newspaper clipping. It's probably on my timeline, so go down that timeline. You can see me and my brother, the first time I performed in kindergarten. Do you know, every time I hit that stage, I get butterflies. I am nervous. I want to just gag. I'm tired. Like, I can't do it. As soon as I get the stage, there's something about feeling so free to do what it is that I love. So that means that even when you're afraid, you have so much greatness inside of you. Even when you're afraid, that you can still be amazingly powerful, amazingly impactful, to do exactly what you were designed to do. So get out there and do it. Take this time to reflect. Take this time to honor your feelings, whatever it is. Don't sit in it. Don't push it down. Don't internalize it. Get it out of your body. allow yourself to feel that way, and then move forward. And always be grateful for the little bit that you have. And you'd be surprised, even with the little bit that you have, if you just give to someone else, that it just makes all the difference. There's so much joy in it. And just continue to press forward. Fail well, fail forward,
Oh,
fail often, but try again, and keep
mm,
going. All right? We love
wow.
you. I love you for
Wow.
being
Oh
here.
my goodness. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Thank you so
I
much for
hope we got that on record, because my phone is all storage. My storage is all messed up. It's all full. It's like, oh, you reached your storage.
Nope, don't worry. This is perfect. I'm going to have this on the Instagram story. I will have this on YouTube. I'll make sure to send you a link. It'll be
Oh, thank you
available
for
for
all the
people to
hearts. Woo,
listen.
woo, I love hearts.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining. This has been
Yes.
fantastic.
Oh
Fail
my God.
well,
Yes.
fail beautifully. Just do it. Just do it. You know, there's nothing easier or more simple than just standing on your own two legs and going to do what you got to do. You know,
Yes.
and for my people in wheelchairs, you moving too, so keep it going. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, you moving too. Come on, don't slow down. Let's go. So thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
believing in the
you.
platform. Thank you for believing in yourself. And to everybody, this has been Adrift. I appreciate you all.
Yes. Bye.
Bye now.